This is artist Kenneth Lewis Sr., KJL Art Sanctuary Podcast. I'm happy to all those that are tuning in. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm building this podcast, my fourth episode, and I have artists lined up all the way in January. I'll be local artists, artists all over the country, um, on art history, as well as gallery studio tours. Um, Today I have Jerome Hughes on here. He's an artist at Princeton, Trenton area now, beside Carolina, and he has a very, very unique style of art. Gates, like really great, and but like someone could probably consider folk art. Um, it's folk art is like art that kind of speaks to of your community or neighborhood and your art perspective. That also, um, you use like different objects. You know, folk artists they really think outside of the box. All different type of materials to create artwork. I normally read someone's bio, but silly me, I forgot to print bio out. I wanted to read it, but you can go into the description section of the podcast and you'll be able to read the bio. You're gonna get to know quite a bit about this amazing artist. I'm telling you, really creative. I can't wait to show you the art. So let me just get situated here without any further ado. Jerome Hughes, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Uh, Hey, if anyone in the comments, if you can't hear us, let me know. There's comments on. You'll be able to uh, interact with us. If you have any questions for Jerome or myself, ask. And if no one can, if you can hear me or can't hear, let us know. Um, you sound pretty good to me. So, how you doing, young man?
I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm
Uh,
fine. I've been looking forward for this interview. So
uh,
let's go.
yes. Let me. I want to put this little comment you have here. Make it funky. You know, your Make It Funky Studio. So tell me, what is Make It Funky?
Make it funky is the energy I always got from seeing people on the street. And at its simplest form, you see something and you see a guy riding a bicycle with 4 or 5 baskets on it and lights
Uh,
and radios and everything. That's funky. You don't
uh,
see that any other place. It comes from the heart.
uh,
And funky is the music, the energy we have as people.
uh,
Uh, it's not sophisticated. It's the raw form,
uh,
funky.
uh,
And I think that's where I got it from. All
mm,
the faces I see and all the experiences I've had and all the places I've lived.
uh.
Yeah, I like urban, and most urban places are funky. You can smell it, you can taste it, and you can see it. So
Yeah, and
that's
it's
my
really indicative in your artwork. Again, I can't wait to show some people some of your pieces and everything. Um, but tell me, really quick before we let them see your style, uh, how did you come about that particular style of creating that you're doing?
well. As a child, of course, growing up in the early 60s and 70s, I saw a lot of cartoons and everything like that. But really kicked it off was growing up in a funeral home. I had to have something to separate the reality that I was seeing, in the funeral home, and that my art form changed the real people into cartoons,
Uh-huh,
in my own head,
uh-huh,
because I saw so much, in a funeral home. I just couldn't, as a child, say,
yeah,
okay, that's a real human being, I had to switch it up to make them cartoons. In my mind, that's what I called it as a child. But as an adult, they're just characters and caricatures of, what I saw growing up. So I didn't want to be a realistic artist because that would connect me too much to the funeral home and what I saw there. So I had to switch it up. And that's how I created my style.
How long did you work in the
Well, I grew up in one. I was 1 year old when we moved into the funeral home, and
Oh wow.
yeah, going away to school and everything, I was separated from it. And then when I came back, that's the reality. So it's over 40 years I worked in a funeral home.
Wow.
Family business. But anyway, my art, I had to do something to clear my head after, a long day at the funeral home and seeing so much suffering and grief and all. So, that's how I came about my style.
It's awesome. So if anyone, for one, I'm going to show you one of his pieces, and you can tell me how, like, in your process, like, what are the materials that you're using when you're creating these pieces here? I'm gonna put one of them up right here.
Okay.
And tell us about the pieces, because you've told me, but tell me about the pieces.
Okay, that particular piece is it's actually a shadow box, and it's called "Take Your Fat Ass Back Across the Street." It's done on balsa wood, and the background, the houses and all are. I had a print made, poster size, and the whole piece is about 4.5 foot by 3.5. And the process was lay the background down on the board, and what I did, I used wallpaper glue to seal it on the back, seal it onto the wood, and then from there, I just stared at it a while, and then created the street scene. The two characters in the front, the guy in the the yellow raincoat and the red sweater, they're my main characters. You'll see them pop up in a lot of my work. That's Isham and Floody. Floody's the white dude and Isham's the brother. So that you'll see them throughout a lot of my work. And I connect all my pieces through them. They're thieves. So whenever you see them, something's going on criminal wise.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're good guys. They're good guys, but they're petty, extremely petty. So you see them throughout my work.
Wow. That's funny.
Yeah.
So when you see those guys, the mischief is up.
Yeah, always.
Wow, right. That's great. Now tell me, this looks like kind of almost 3D.
It is.
So how are the pieces? Are they permanent on them piece, or are they movable?
This particular piece, they're permanent. I have them in different. The guy standing in the door with the Eagles jersey on, he's just glued up against the door. And then everyone else has a little bit of balsa wood to separate them, to give space and depth. So that's how I create my scenes. The woman in the window with the pink jammies on, or whatever, a shift or moo, she's glued right up to the window. Yeah.
Because tell me a little bit. So we were talking before, and you told me that some of the pieces are magnetized, where it's interactive art.
Yeah, this piece you're showing now is done on metal. I painted the buildings and everything on metal, and everything else, they're magnets. The dollar store sign and all the people in the windows, the refrigerator, the cars, all the characters, you can move them around and create your own scene.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
And see, the deal is I'm never satisfied when I paint. I always want to add a little bit more or create more to the story. And that's why I came up with the idea and the concept of doing magnets and shadow boxes, because like I said, I'm never satisfied. My wife and son have to tell me to stop when I'm creating a piece, because I just keep going on and on and on. So this is my way of just saying, okay, I can always create a new scene by having everything, magnetized.
wow. And you know what, I can relate to that. I've experienced that same thing, like not knowing when to quit.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's a very unique way in dealing with that. So tell me a little bit about this piece right here.
Okay, that's Miss Girl and Ebony.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Ebony, Ebony's in the light blue robe, and that's Miss Girl. That's
Uh-huh.
part of the Isham and Floody. Uh, that's a shadow box,
Uh-huh.
and
Wow.
it's one of my backgrounds. I have about 4 or 5 different backgrounds I use for a lot of my work,
Uh-huh.
and that's done on. That's actually like a collage. That's a poster size print done on board and glued with wallpaper glue, and then
Okay.
they're actually done in wood, and I glued the characters onto the glue and cut it out onto the wood and cut it out.
So when uh, will people consider you like a folk artist? Are you considered
An
that?
urban folk artist,
An urban folk artist?
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because
See,
generally folk art was like a southern, like is it based southern based or just period it's all across?
yeah, yeah, but see, I am a urbanite like yourself. So that's why I call it urban folk art, if that's how they want to characterize it.
Uh,
Because it's all art, and
that
uh, the folk word comes along as like you say, some southern style art, because they do a lot of wood carvings and painting on wood down here in North Carolina. But I was doing that way before I moved down here.
yeah.
I never really followed folk art. I created my own. Then when I started, venturing around into different shows and everything, I saw how they, the Southerners were doing their thing. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, we're pretty close, but the subject matter separates me from them.
They tend to want to label artists like yourself and artists like me as like either folk artists or outsider artists. Uh, um, so obviously I didn't go to school for art. I just,
Mm-hmm.
did my own thing. But
Right.
they kind of label. What do you think about stuff like that? Like, what do you think?
I don't really want to fall in any category, because I
Uh,
do my own thing,
mhm.
and I never really uh, was inspired by other people's art. I like a lot of people's art. I love other artists, but they're not setting me on that. They're on their street, as they say. I'm on my own lane, in my own lane. So that's how I see it. You
Uh,
can call it whatever you want, but I know what I'm doing, just like you do.
yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
that's how
It's
I.
like I feel like creativity is so expansive. It's like you can't contain the container.
Right. Right. Right.
I heard Jim Carrey say that one day. He was like, "You can't contain the container,"
Right.
and it's like, so I don't want to be boxed in either.
No.
Um,
No.
but I could get it when people think your stuff resembles a certain style or a certain era, something like that. I can also see that how people do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And see, my thing is this: when I create, paint, or whatever, I listen to music to get my rhythm,
yeah,
because if I'm doing something really funky, I got to listen to some funk most of the time. But then I find myself, I did a painting with Isham and Floody, and I was listening to the Pointer Sisters.
mm,
And there was 3 sisters, and you have that 3-part harmony. And I was
yep,
creating the piece that way. That was my rhythm. And the shirt I have on now, I painted this, and that I listened to Marvin Gaye. And people were saying, how are you listening to Marvin Gaye and you did something like that, so Southern and country? I say, because the rhythm. It was all about the rhythm and the strokes of the paintbrush.
Exactly.
Right.
So you have, I'm gonna show this other, if I can try to pull it up here. You have another, I'm gonna show a video, real quick video, so you all can see, like, kind of moving in and out, get an idea of what some of, what one of the pieces looks like, kind of close up. So hold on, let's do this video real quick. Awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to make sure you want to follow Jerome, you see him at Make It Funky Studio on Instagram, and then on Facebook, Make It Funky Studio. We're here again with Jerome, and across the ticker, I'm going to let the ticker run for a little bit. You'll be able to see his how you can follow Jerome. We're going to let that run for a little bit, but by all means, follow him, support this artist. Art is an investment. Buying from this gentleman, I'm telling you right now, is an investment. It's something that's going to appreciate and value. He does some amazing work. It's unique, and it's just a great opportunity to have him on here to discuss. So I'm sorry for it. Let me ask you this question. Do you have a particular time of the day that you like to create? Like,
oh yeah. I can't work during the day. My creativity kicks in once the sun goes down, because there's always so much going on. And the best time of year for me is from fall to winter and spring. Summertime, I have to force myself to work. Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard, especially when my son was young. As they say, life gets in the way, and you have to spend time with your children or whatever. And then once the sun goes down, he goes to bed. Then I would do my thing. Yeah.
As far as your inspiration, is there any, like, where do you get your inspiration from? It's obviously from the neighborhood, but are there any other things that inspire you?
Music and just talking to people, observation, and exaggeration. You know, I can talk to someone and just listen to their story and say, okay, this is where I'm going to go with this when I do my next piece. I'm going to put you in there. And if you go back to the dollar store scene, that's actually Greenwood Avenue. A couple buildings.
I'll go back to the picture.
Yeah.
Which one? You said it was one of the ones I showed already.
Yeah, the dollar store scene with all the people out front with the old Seville in front. Yeah,
this one right here.
Right, that's a couple old buildings on Greenwood Avenue.
Wow.
Yeah. And the deal is, I got all kinds of people in there. And those are the people who I am gravitated to, because they're the ones with the most energy as far as I'm concerned.
Uh-huh.
You got the the player there talking to the woman, and you got the guy holding the Mr. Wu sign, which that particular character, I had to pull him out of a show because they were offended. Mr. Wu House of Soul Food. They didn't want oh no, you can't show that because it may be offensive to people. But that's what's going on in our neighborhoods.
Wow.
And then this particular piece, that one there is one of the little bodegas in our community, And like I said, I love where I'm from.
It's funny how you do all the different characters, and you can go to places and you would see people hanging out and about just like that. Just like that.
So, but I have a lot of little stories within the story. Okay, the guy breaking the aluminum baseball bat in half. When I was living in South Trenton, he was one of the people who lived in the neighborhood. His name was Frankie. So,
and what he used to do? What did he used to do?
Oh, Frankie, he was one of the characters down there in South Trenton. Petty criminal at the time, but a nice guy. So we called him Frankie Stein. He was a big dude, and he pretty much kept the peace on our block. But when he ventured off our block, he was raising hell. And what's going on there is the girl with the baseball bat in her hand and the boy holding his hands up. We're going to try to take on the guy with the shirt that has the P on it. He's coming out of the store, and Frankie Stein took the bat out of the guy's hand and just broke it in half, and all that was squashed. And, when you drive down the street, you have to observe what's going on, and that's one of my things. I see so much. Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, the woman with the broom and the dustpan, she's the owner of the store. And it's a Hispanic store, which we call in Trenton the Puerto Rican store. Yeah. So
that is funny. Let me ask you this question. Have you done any books? Because I'm telling you, these characters, the whole 9 yards, would make a great children's book. It would make a great book.
Well, it wouldn't be children's; it would be adults.
Well, if it was a different storyline, characters, but you do it for children.
Right. Well, I've been approached, and there's some woman. I don't want to drop any names right now because it's not etched in stone, but she's interested in publishing something of mine.
Oh man, I would do it.
We'll work on that.
I would do it.
Yeah.
So this piece right here, what's this?
Speckle Red.
That's where?
Speckle Red.
Speckle Red. Yeah, I'm looking at. I ain't got my glasses on right now. I couldn't see that little thing right there, but.
Right.
All right, yeah. So you're giving the history of Trenton with your artwork.
Well, pretty much, because that's what inspires me most. That's a piece of metal, and the characters are magnetic, so you can move them around or whatever.
Interchange it.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Some of the characters in that are actually people who I used to see on Perry Street all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
The guy standing underneath the sign, underneath the word food, was actually one of the street people out there. That's a dude. I guess I can say the name without the last name. That was Andrew. And if anybody knows anything about Perry Street back in the day, they could tell you who those people were.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got the brother selling the newspapers and everything up there. Now, that piece there, that's actually a jewelry box. Yeah, and that's the interior door of the piece that I call Poor Miss Anderson. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, it's really, it's amazing. Like, excuse me, just the creativity, I'm telling you, and the fact that you telling the story behind all your pieces. And like, I'm sure that the people that collect your artwork, they really appreciate it. And how do you go about marketing yourself? Besides just being on social media, we know I got it scrolling across the bottom for everyone to follow you on Facebook, for instance. But in the age of social media, how has that helped you?
Well, I've only sold a few pieces on the internet, but most of my pieces are sold at shows. Yeah, because my son, they put me in anything that's going on, no matter how big or small. And then through that, I've been invited to a lot of different shows.
I got it.
I do have a following. Down here, a lot of people who buy my art are from the Northeast or the West Coast. And like I say, here, Southerners have a different perspective on architecture and everything else. Everything down here is horizontal. Everything up our way is vertical, and because we don't have the space. And most of the people who see my work at shows say, "Oh, that reminds me of home," or whatever. And I've sold a couple pieces internationally. Got a piece in Israel, one in France. They've come to some of the shows and they've taken the artwork back, with them, because they all say, your art reminds us of home. We have the same type of neighborhood, same type of ghetto, whatever you want to call it. They say this is home to us. And they say that not too many artists want to represent their, neighborhoods like you do. They said, you have no fear. And especially these days, a lot of critics are out there saying, "Oh, you can't do that because it makes us look bad," or whatever, and this and that. I said, "You're not looking at it the right way." I said, "These are the same streets everybody walks all the time." And I said, "There are good people everywhere, bad people, whatever." I said, "I just think what I see."
Exactly. And you absolutely make it funky, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's it. Exaggeration, sometimes it's the truth, I don't have to take it that far. Like the Speckled Red piece, all those people were on Perry Street at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as galleries, are you in any particular galleries right now? Do you have gallery representation? Is it something you go after?
I did belong to a gallery here in Winston, but again, Winston is a very conservative town. And what I was doing was just too much for them. I always sold at the gallery, but like you say, people are funny, and they don't want you to shine brighter than they are because they, So like I say, most of my stuff I take on the road, and I do it that way. An art space. There's a place in Raleigh called Art Space that I have a painting in, and that show starts. When does that show start? Next Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll run until the end of December, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. It's a nice gallery. Very nice.
Do you tend to work with, like, what size pieces do you normally work with? You paint really
I
large?
try not to go any larger than 48 by 48 or maybe a little larger, because if I do anything any bigger, I'll never stop. I'll just keep working on it until it's just so far gone, I miss the mark. So I'm more comfortable with something, maybe 48 by 24, or like I said, 48 by 48.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And those are nice sizes, because those big, gigantic paintings, there's only a certain clientele for those really giant paintings.
Exactly.
Most people are going to be in that range from that 4 foot down, that 36 by 40,
right.
24, all in those ranges. Most people will be in there. Although you can get some, I do a lot of large paintings, but I also do a lot of small ones as well.
Yeah, because I see your large pieces. Yeah. Right.
And they go, like, people that get those, they really, a lot of times they just had a wall space.
Yeah.
And they're looking for something very
Right. And see, Go ahead.
Have you been asked to do murals? Like people ask me all the time to do murals. I don't.
Yeah, I've been asking. I don't do murals because my style, I don't think would translate well to a mural, because I'm doing street scenes and everything like that, and that's where they want the mural anyway, and then you got that with just by the buildings around you, I have to pat people on the back who do murals, but I don't want to work that large because I have a lot of detail in my work, and I want people to. Yeah, and so you can't have that depth that I put in my work. I like dimensions, and I want people to interact with my work. That's why a lot of my stuff I paint on boxes, suitcases, and things like that, because I want people to touch it and really get the feeling of it.
Exactly. Let me ask you, have you done prints of your work? Do you sell prints?
Yeah, I do a lot of print work, and I'll tell you what. When I was there last year and talking to you, you were telling me you gotta have a printer. And when I got that, my son purchased me a Canon 300. So I do my own prints, I do my own T-shirts, my own greeting cards and everything like that.
Awesome.
And that's the best investment he's ever made for me. So
yes.
I love it.
Well, listen,
the T-shirt I have on, I printed myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I highly recommend, if anybody wants to really get into their art, you got to have a printer.
Yes.
You got to have one, because then you can do your prints. Because the printer I have, I guess that can go as large as 13, but as long as 36 inches.
Okay.
And if I need anything any bigger than that, I
you gotta farm it out. Yeah. And there's some pretty good print companies that where you can get your prints done
right
for price. So yeah. So let me ask you this: when you're preparing for your fairs, all the art shows you're going to, do you have a cut and dry process you go through? Like some artists, like myself, I have a systematic approach to doing it. I don't know if you do. And how do you maintain your inventory? Those are the questions.
Well, my wife, she used to be a buyer for Macy's. So I really don't have to put much thought into it. She'll tell me what I need to bring, how it's displayed, and what kind of show it's going to be, because some of the things I just can't take everywhere. And when I first started out, I would take everything, and a lot of places they only want you to have X amount of space. So you have to break it down, your table size, your risers, and all that. And she's very good at that. So she's like I said, she used to be a buyer for Macy's. So
that helps. That helps big time.
Right.
Because set design and everything
is
important when you're going out doing this.
Right.
Which brings me to, like, it seems that you have a lot of family involvement, and that is a blessing. I see your son doing work with you. I work with your son and getting some of the information from you. You got your wife working there. So it's like your family's involved, and that is a lot of artists don't have that.
Well, this is how we look at it. I don't know if you remember the movie Cadillac Records.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The artist didn't get a dime. Everybody else did, they got it. So all I do is create the art. They do all my pricing and all my setup, all my engagements and everything. So it takes a lot of heat off of me. I don't have to do too much thinking about that. He has a degree in art administration. My wife was a buyer for Macy's. So all that's pretty much taken care of. Because the way I look at things, I would give my art away. Just so people can see it. And they say, no, this is the price you set.
Yes.
So when people come up to me and ask me, okay, well, how much is this piece? I said, I work with Cadillac Records. I couldn't tell you. So I leave everything up to them. So that's how that works. And that speckle red piece was sold a couple of weeks ago in Charlotte at the International Art Festival.
Awesome.
The woman, how it went down, some of her friends came in and looked at the piece, then brought her in the next day. And she asked me, well, how much? Before I could get my a word out, my wife said, I'll tell you what it is. Don't talk to him about the price. You know, I do all that. So
Wow.
I got much more for it than I expected, simply because they handle all that. And let me say this, and a lot of young artists make the mistake that I made in the past. You have to have confidence in your work so you can price it that way.
Yes.
Okay, you know, and that's what they do. And I just keep my mouth shut. And they start high, and we'll meet somewhere, you know, that's comfortable for both of us. And I'm not a real fan of galleries per se as far as commission is concerned, because a lot of places want 40%, you know, max or whatever. If you do these smaller venues or whatever, these shows or these pop-up festivals and all, you don't have to pay a commission fee. You just have to pay an entry fee. So that's how I do my thing. You know, I don't mind working with a gallery, but like I said, I'm not a fan. I don't want to be your employee.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Let me, as far as commission work, you get a lot of people that ask you to do commission work for them?
Yeah, I do. And I tell them, as long as it's in my comfort zone. You know, don't ask me to do something that I don't do. I don't do portraits. You need a portrait artist to do portraits, and that's not what I do. So yeah, I do a couple pieces every now and then, but they have to realize I'm not going to go too far from what I do. And most of the time, when they say that, I tell them I have a piece you may like. You know, we don't have to go that route. Yeah. And then I tell people, don't post everything you do online. You know, you can always keep something on the back burner. So when someone asks, you know, do you have anything like X, Y, Z? I said, yes, I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What would you say is the number of pieces of art you've done since, like, if you had to put a number on it, like,
I don't
creative
Well, let me put it to you this way. Since the 80s, when I came back from Atlanta, what would you say? Thousands? Yeah, thousands. Because I do small pieces, large pieces, or whatever. So I would say that.
Do you, like, as far as your inventory, like I said, maintaining the inventory, do you keep a track record of your, in the beginning, I wasn't doing it. I started keeping a track record of anybody that bought a piece of artwork from me, so that I can maintain. I made sure I give out certificates of authenticity, and start tracking it that way. I had got so many pieces done, and then I just had to get a couple of interns to come in and help me do the inventory, because I just was making stuff and not inventorying it. So I try to maintain it, and it's due for an overhaul coming up.
Right. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, you have to keep track of what you're doing and the people who you're selling to. And I didn't do that in the beginning. I just let things walk out the door, never, you know, bothered to track it down. I got a piece in Pittsburgh. The guy bought it from a gallery I had it in, and I was on vacation, so the curator called me and said, "Look, he wants to buy this piece, this and that and that." And I said, "Yeah, sell it to him." Then I said, "Did you get his phone number, his name, or whatever?" No, we just sold it to him, so it's gone. It's gone. So now I do.
I'm developing on my website right now. It's a collector's page, and it's for you know, once someone collects my art, they'll have exclusive access to that, where they'll see things that, you know, maybe I'm working on, or behind the scenes stuff. So I learned too to try to be start engaging more with your collectors as well, because sometimes we get so busy just with life and trying to do everything, and those are little things that, you know, have pay big dividends,
Right.
to maintain them.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. You have to keep some track of what you're putting out there. And again, you have to watch who you're selling to, because some people will buy your work, and then the next thing you know, you'll see it on T-shirts all over the place.
Yes.
And that's not good. I had a problem with that years ago. Guy wanted, I want this piece. I said, okay. I sold it to him. Next thing I know, he had printed up a bunch of prints of it.
Yes.
And I said, what are you doing? Well, I own it now. I said, well, you may own it, but you just cheapened what I did.
And you don't own the copyright to it.
Right. I said, it has no value now. I said, you just threw it out there, and now everybody, is wearing it and this and that. And I said, the original piece is worthless.
Yep. But what he doesn't realize is that, yes, I sell you the artwork, but I own the copyright. You cannot, if you buy a piece of artwork from someone, you cannot reproduce it.
Right.
You own the piece, but you don't own the copyright. And
right.
So I would have to, now, if he bought that from you, that would be different. So if someone wants something from me so bad and they want the copyright to it, you put your number on there that you want. You can put any number on there that you want. It depends on how bad they want it, what they're willing to pay for it.
Right.
So so you could have sued them. I've already threatened like a couple of people that had used some of my work.
Yeah.
And they took it down. They were like, I'm saying, I don't even know why they did it in the first place.
Yeah, and see, they're not true art collectors.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there trying to get their hustle on. Okay, but not with my work.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
Listen, I'm gonna put some more of your photos up here. You had these little things. Like, tell me about these. I'm about to pull one of them up here. Tell me a little bit about these.
Okay, they're medallions. That's Isham and Floody. That piece is called Brenda Goes to Work. I don't know if I gave you a copy of the original piece, but they're medallions. That's part of the storyline. They broke into Brenda's house when she went to work. So, and I tell you, they're so petty. The sequence is, okay, they climb through the window. Now they're in Brenda's house.
What?
Yeah. So I wanted to do something different, so I painted them on medallions.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also, that's Brenda catching up with them when she came home from work. She's called Big Butt Brenda.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So what Brenda do when she get there?
She punched me in the face. He punched Floody in the face, but she knows them, so it's all good. She knew they were. When she came home, she knew exactly who was in her house.
As long as we ain't had no.
Yeah.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
Let me see this next one here.
That's,
what about this one?
That's a car coaster.
Uh-huh.
They go in your cup holder in your car. That's Blunt Boy.
Oh,
now,
wow.
The original piece was a 8x10 painting, and I sold that. But I had so many accessories to that original piece. I have bags done, T-shirts and everything, but I sold the original piece. So once I get rid of all that, I'm not going to produce any more of Blunt Boy. He's done. That's Isham and Floody watching Brenda go to work. They're standing out in front of the store across the street watching Brenda go to work.
Wow.
That's them in her house. Floody's taking a nap.
What? Wow, that is funny.
But,
I mean, just the stories behind all of these.
Yeah, but we all know those people. I lost your audio. No. Can you hear me? No. No, I can't.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now?
I got
okay.
it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there.
No problem.
Sound went out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Now, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, everybody knows those type of people.
Uh-huh.
You know, you see them in the neighborhood. You know, if I leave this in the car, they're going to open the car and take it out. You know, but they don't. They're so petty. They really don't mean any harm, but they're just doing it just to do it.
Uh-huh.
So Brenda comes home from work. She knew exactly who was in her house, and then the story goes on. Brenda had bought some meats for her church, you know, one of the dinners, and she had it all in deep freezers. They break in and steal the meat, and they're selling it out of the back of the van.
Wow.
So that they'll be able to see that picture on my Instagram or Facebook of them driving around in the van. Yeah, yeah. So
that is funny. Let me ask you this one question: is what would you say is your biggest challenge, Martin? And then the last question will be, after that, the advice you kind of gave a little bit earlier, but what advice would you give to up?
Well, my biggest challenge, we'll say it this way, is to have people look at my work with an open mind. You know, because again, I've had pieces pulled out of shows because those quote unquote good people don't want to see us that way.
Okay.
You know, you can't portray us like that. You got everybody out on the street hustling and all that. Okay, that's the biggest challenge, to look at it with an open mind and really look into the story.
Yes.
Because when I put something in a gallery, I always print up a short story, a background about the piece that's going on. And once they read it, they say, "Oh, okay, it's not as graphic or bad as we thought it was with our eyes. Now that we can look at it with our minds."
Yeah.
And what was the next question with my advice?
Well, let me say something to that. So if you were doing artwork depicting the Great Depression, you would show people that were hungry, people that were in soup lines, all that stuff. It's no different.
Right.
So, you know, I agree with you totally on that. The last question was, what advice would you give for young and up and coming artists? I try to ask all the artists that. What advice would you give to our young people?
Whatever your passion is, stick with it. Don't change it. If you see a trend coming along, everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that, do what you want. Do what your passion is. You know, don't switch up on every little fad that comes along or whatever. Just stay true to what you do best, and that's usually what you're passionate about. Just awesome. Do you. Don't worry about anybody else and your influence. Look at other artists, see what they're doing, but then you have to say, okay, that's what they're doing. I have to do me. You know? And that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm not changing up what I do for anything, especially at this stage in life. I can really just let it all hang out because I don't care what people say about what I do. It's my passion, and I know my clientele, just like you know yours, and that's it. That's it. Etched in stone.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna put your information up here again for people to follow Jerome, and so this is we have Make It Funky Studio on Instagram, on Facebook. We have Make It Funky Studio, and he just makes it funky. So we're gonna have the ticker go across the bottom, and we're gonna show you one more time, just a short 1-minute video of one of his pieces, goes in and out. And I want to thank you for coming on. I'm going to show your video, and it's really just wonderful you came. I'm glad you agreed to do the interview.
Thank you.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Listen, thanks for watching this broadcast of KJL Art Sanctuary Podcast and our interview with Jerome Hughes. And want to watch the rebroadcast, it'll be showing again on my YouTube channel, KJL Art Sanctuary Podcast. If you want to support my channel, you can do so by go on my website for one, screenshot via Square. You can screenshot via Cash App. And you can screenshot via Venmo. Again, so next Sunday, we have a talented young man, Lil Livingston. And I always mess up his first name. I mean, Kyle, I be messing up his first name. He's going to be here next Sunday. A talented young man. I've watched him for about 5 or 6 years. And he's an example of a young person that has some great talent, great attitude, developing into a fine young man. And I know you're going to be excited to hear the story of this talented young man. And we also have coming up some gallery tours, and also I put off my Purvis Young art history video because I wanted to do a little bit more work on it, and I wanted to show a little more about the tour that we kind of buffered in and out. But the next gallery tour that we will be doing, it will be the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia. So look for that art for a video, a podcast episode coming soon. And again, thank you so much for stopping by. And again, we'd love for you to support our channel, share, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and much love.